Well, Chicago's West Loop is one happening place these days with retail, restaurants, and lots of new residential options.
I recently spent time with a Chicago author who knows the neighborhood inside and out. She has lived there for 25 years and says she has loved every minute of it.
Chicago's West Loop, the legendary locations, the sensational shopping, the Randolph Street restaurants. But even just a short time ago, the West Loop was a very different place.
This used to be a women's shelter.
This was a woman's shelter?
Yes. It's been here for a long time.
Author Connie Fairbanks proudly calls this neighborhood home. And she wrote a book about it, Chicago's West Loop, Then and Now, People, Businesses, and Buildings.
Why did you write this book?
I wrote this book because I've lived in the neighborhood for 25 years. So I've seen the wave of changes, and I knew there was history here.
And there's truly history around every corner of the West Loop.
All the businesses that were over here. There were a lot of empty warehouse buildings when some of the developers came here. We built parts for airplanes for World War II.
And Connie says people made history.
We had a lot of pioneers that lived over here from the 1850s.
Mary Barlamay was Illinois' first female judge, and this park at Adams in Peoria honors her. Dr. George Shipman established one of the first infant rescue homes, or safe havens, in the country. Retail pioneer Philo Carpenter, and yes, the street is named for him, also offered a safe house to slaves along the Underground Railroad. But perhaps the most well-known pioneer in West Loop history is this woman, Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah made it okay to come over here.
When she took a chance and opened Harpo Studios in 1990, the West Loop was still struggling.
And I think she probably saw some good real estate and saw that some things were happening.
And things are still happening. In 2016, Harpo Studios was demolished to later make way for the new McDonald's World Headquarters. But one iconic building that still stands is the house that Michael built.
Let's talk about the United Center.
And I think people thought, oh, that's a whole new area to develop. The buildings are cheap, or they were at the time, not anymore.
The United Center opened in 1994 near a part of Madison Street that for decades was known as Skid Row. Cheap hotels called flop houses and streets filled with people who had fallen on hard times. 2 years after the UC opened, it put Chicago in the national spotlight, hosting the 1996 Democratic Convention. Mayor Richard M. Daley made sure Madison Street also shined.
They cleaned the street up. They cleaned it up. They put in the planters.
From that time to this, Madison Street has thrived, from businesses that have survived the pandemic to new construction popping up on corners.
Critics, though, are going to say this is gentrification and this is not good for the working poor.
There is pockets of affordable housing here, and I know they're working with the new developers to make sure there is affordable housing.
For Chicagoans of a certain age, it is staggering to see what's happened here. What is the lesson in the transformation of the West Loop?
People caring about the neighborhood, jumping in, getting involved, donating your time, people planning routes. You can't walk down the street without knowing somebody.
You can buy Chicago's West Loop then and now online at ConnieFairbanks.com. And there are some other facts about the history of the West Loop. The first powdered sugar donut was perfected there.
Can't forget about the meat markets that used to be there, too. And also Mary Todd Lincoln lived in the neighborhood after President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, and Schwinn bicycles also began in the West Loop.
We had a nice tour with Connie.
That's fascinating. Yeah.